All right, so I believe I should be live right now. So I think we should be live right now. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back once again to another live stream. So I am live. Welcome back once again to another live stream. Those of you coming in into the chat room, listen, feel free to hit the like button as you come in. All right, like the video, as well as share your thoughts in the comments. All right, as you can see, the title of this video, 90 days, my first 90 days in Nairobi, Kenya. Right now, I'm actually sipping on some hibiscus and clove and honey. So as we get this live stream going, man, it's been a hot minute since we actually been on live. So a lot of people may not even know that I'm live right now. So first and foremost, let's share this live stream. All right, let me share this live stream. And like I said before, those of you coming in the chat room, if you can hear me, all right. If you can hear me in the chat room, let me know. And I want you guys to also share the live stream as I share my experience here, my first 90 days in Nairobi, Kenya. All right. So right now I'm currently in Kenya. Matter of fact, let me make sure I plug my computer on the charger here. I was gonna make a big rookie mistake by not charging my laptop. So let me make sure that my computer is being charged. Hold on, guys. Let me make sure. All right, perfect. So once again, those of you coming in the chat room, feel free to share in the comments. If you can hear me, if you can hear the live stream, let me know that you can hear me as I go into this topic here tonight. All right. My first 90 days in Nairobi. Okay, I think I'm about ready to go. All right. Okay. All right, guys. Once again, welcome back to another live stream. Welcome back to Kixkeya Global Village. Right about now, it's 1 a.m. here in Nairobi, Kenya. And so tonight, I think that is great to come on live to share my experiences these past, I would say 90 days since I have been here in Nairobi, Kenya. It has been a great experience so far. And also the past 10 months, as I have been, traveling on the continent of Africa. All right. It has been a great experience, traveling on the continent for 10 months. And so these past rather 3 months, I have spent in Nairobi. And so, first and foremost, I would say that just my experience coming into the continent has been life changing. It has been transformative within itself. Just the just the cultures that I have been able to learn, and the people that I've been able to meet, and also just the connections, the relationships that I've been able to build just these past 10 months is great. You know what I mean? Very great. And so I would just have to do an actual video just on my experience in Africa as a whole for these past 10 months. That's a whole nother video within itself. And yet, in recent times, I came into Kenya by way of Nairobi. And so by now, listen, yo, I'm like so excited to talk about this video here, to talk about my experience. I need to hold my horses. I need to hold my horses. Right about now, I mean, based on the plan that I had, I was supposed to already been in Uganda. I was supposed to already been in Rwanda. I was supposed to potentially be also in Tanzania. But this whole 90 days, I literally spent in Nairobi. All right. And so, listen, when I first came into Nairobi, you guys can see the experience because I actually shared a couple of videos already. It was at the height of the protests. It was a lot going on in Nairobi. I think it was really a great time for me to come into Nairobi because you get to see like just the experience of the youth in Kenya and how they orchestrate themselves and demonstrate themselves. And so I was able to get a different perspective just coming in right off bat. And so, I mean, the time when I came in, I actually wanted to go to Nairobi City. I wanted to go into like the CBD just to go and witness the experiences. But the people at the time that I was around, they warned me not to go. So I ended up not going. But then over time, I got a little bit more comfortable. Then I would kind of go around the edges. I would take like a taxi, go around the edges and kind of view like the experience of what was going on within the city, because it was kind of hard just to sit inside the house and all these things is happening out there and I'm just sitting down inside. So on Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes I would just like go out around the skirts just to kind of see, just the ambiance of what was happening, and the spirit of things that was going on out there. And so coming into um, Kenya, really Nairobi City, I didn't have much of an expectation because prior to that, like Kenya wasn't really on my radar. If I was to really be like frank with you, way back in 2019, 2020, rather like really like 2020, if there was a country in Africa that I really wanted to visit, it was Tanzania. And so at the time, I was actually making preparations to come to Tanzania, but then the pandemic came in, and so that just kind of fell through. That didn't happen, and then I started traveling in other places in the Americas. And then as the years progress, in recent times in 2023, I started making connections in Uganda through YouTube. And so Uganda became like one of my countries that I wanted to come into. And then, of course, the Gambia, once again, through YouTube, connecting with people. And so coming into Nairobi, I didn't really have like a specific like expectation per se. I didn't have like any how should I say this? I didn't have like somewhat of a framework, if you would. And so I think that made my experience even more because every single day was a new discovery. And so meeting new people, establishing connections. And so I would say one of the first things that really stood out to me coming into Nairobi really was the influence of, I would say, like the influence that, or the similarities that in the taste of people in Nairobi in comparison to um, the US. I didn't really see like even like a huge contrast in tastes and desires when it comes to the music. So when I came into Nairobi, I mean, people was jamming or vibing to the same music that I do, you know, growing up in Florida. And so I mean, there's different genres of music that people listen to coming into Nairobi, riding in the matatus. The matatus are public transport. And so the same music, I mean, the culture, like they really embrace just the international vibe, especially the vibe from America. And so I think that was one of the biggest shockers to me, really, because like coming out of, like, for example, Senegal, you didn't really see too much of that. Even though in Senegal there are some people, or in Dakar, let me just say Dakar, in Dakar, Senegal, there, even though there are a lot of people who speak English, you see, because I've been to some events in Dakar, especially like fashion shows, art shows, and so you can see the influence of the international vibe, especially when it comes to the Miami vibe, you know, the New York vibe, like the just the lifestyle in the US. I mean, but it wasn't like pronounced. It was like here and there. And so even in the Gambia, you didn't really see it like that because the culture in the Gambia is more you see like a Arabic vibe in conjunction with like a UK type influence, and then of course you have like the culture, like the Wolof, the Fulas, all the different Mendenkas. They have their own culture, and it's very pronounced within the Gambia. You don't really see too much of like outside influence like that. But like coming into Nairobi, like there wasn't as many adjustments that I've had to make going to Dakar, going to Cairo, or going to the Gambia. I didn't really have to make as much or as many adjustments coming into Nairobi. The music, the food, you have all these different restaurants, Ethiopian restaurants, Indian restaurants, um, Greek restaurants, Mexican restaurants, Italian restaurants. You have Somalian, you have Nigerian, Ghanaian. I mean, just in Nairobi, like the adjustment was not like huge. You know what I mean? So I think I got comfortable real quick coming into Nairobi. So I would say that was one of the things that um, many of you maybe who may want to come into Kenya or Nairobi, I think that it's one of the okay, I'm saying for people who are living in the US, because you know, I don't live in, for example, in Asia or those countries out there. So if you were someone who was living in Japan, for example, you wanted to come into Nairobi, I wouldn't be able to tell you as far as practically how that adjustment would look like. But I know for someone who has grown up in the state of Florida in the US, especially in South Florida, really, coming into Nairobi, you don't really see like the adjustment is not huge because you can get comfortable and there's levels to it. You know what I mean? So it just depends on, you know, just your, I would say your way of life or just your desires. Okay. And so yeah, culturally, I would say that it's very adaptable here. And so that's one of the other things that I learned. You know, when people find out, oh, you know, like, okay, I'm from the US, you know, they kind of they become like very welcoming, I would say. And so, you know, you don't find that people will shun you because, you know, you're from the US or maybe another country. And so, just like, for example, living in America, when you find out, like, oh, this person is from Nigeria or this person is from Kenya, you're like, wow, you know, you want to learn more just about that person is the same way that they want to learn about you. So, I would say that once again, the adjustments are not, um, it's not like a wide adjustment, especially when it comes to infrastructure. For example, um, in some places you will go, not here per se, but I'm saying in certain other countries you will go, you may not necessarily have like nice roads. Okay, the roads might be like very dusty, for example. But here, like the road networks are great, the highways, the I mean, there's great road networks. And so traffic, I mean, at times when you like in the city center, definitely you can find like heavy traffic. But um, I mean, for the past 90 days, like I said, I've been really in Nairobi. You know what I mean? I haven't even been to Mombasa, just in Nairobi. And so I can say that traffic is definitely, there's a nice flow when it comes to traffic, depending on the time of the day and where you're at. And so let's say you in like the city center, then it's always busy for the most part. It's like a downtown, you know what I mean? So it's always going to be busy. That's where business is conducted, where you have all the bureaus, administrations. And so you have markets just in the city center. So it's always going to be congested. But when it comes to just going into the other branches of pocket of areas, then definitely traffic is great. So in terms of transportation, some of the things that um, I've learned is that, like, for example, let's say if you're someone who is like claustrophobic, um, I don't know if you would do well with the matatus if you like claustrophobic. Like, for example, like for me, even though the matatus is what most people take, or nearly like majority of the population in Nairobi, they take matatus, which is like the public transport. It's like a bus, okay? I personally don't like matatus because I'm claustrophobic. I don't like to be in like congestion, okay? And so when I move around, I take just a public taxi, like a taxi or Uber or whatever, okay? And so, and then the other mode of transportation is the what they call boda boda, okay? Boda boda is like a motorbike. So depending on the area where you at, it might be even more convenient for you to take a boda boda instead of ordering like a Uber. It might be more convenient to take a boda boda. Like for example, for the past like I would say 2 months, I was like really in the rural areas, okay, on the upper hills. And so on that side, it's very cold. I'm gonna get to the weather on the upper hills, but just so you know, it's cold on those hills. And so in those areas, depending on the time of the day, your best bet will be to take a motorbike. In fact, I even had like some of my motorbike guys or boda boda guys on call. I have like my daytime motorbike drivers, and then I have my nighttime motorbike drivers. And so some guys work day shift and some guys work night shift. And so um, you will find that if you're commuting in some particular areas, it might take you longer by the time the Uber gets to you. If you were to take a motorbike, you would have made your trip and come back already before the Uber even comes. All right. So you just got to know your area as to the means of transportation that's more convenient and more comfortable for you. And then, you'll be good to go. So during my 90 days, my 90 days so far, being in Nairobi, I've taken practically all mode of transportation except for the train. I have not been in the train in Nairobi yet. Um, but I've taken motorbikes, matatus, I've taken the bus. I have also taken Uber and also some of the other local car rides. All right. And so there's really not one is preferable over the other. It just depends on, like I said, your area and what actually fits your mode of traveling. Me personally, I don't like my tattoos in the bus because it's too congested. And so most times I tend to just take a car and then I move around and do what I need to do. So, in terms of weather, like I said, growing up in Florida, I've always been in the tropics, going into the Caribbean, tropics. I mean, up here is not really tropical per se, it's more like subtropical. Um, Up here, I mean, right now, if I was to look at the weather, I think it might be like in the 60s or something. All right. So weather in Nairobi. So it's like 62 right now. All right, 62. So before, um, it was like winter between July, because I came in, I think it was in June. I think I came in June or July, one of them. Okay, so between that time and August, September, it was the winter. All right, so up here it gets very cold around those times. All right, so that's one thing you have to know coming into Nairobi. It gets very cold um, between July, August, and September. And also, of course, in the nighttime, the temperature definitely drops, and so it gets somewhat cold. But like I said, I'm saying it's cold depending on your experience of what cold is. You know what I mean? To someone, 60 degrees is like very warm, depending on where your culture and where you're actually coming from. Okay. So the weather is great though. I mean, it's very sunny. Me personally, I actually like the upper hills. I haven't been on the coast of Kenya yet, like the eastern coast. I haven't been on the coastlines, and so I'm really enjoying the upper hills right now. I mean, I like the hills. You know, the mountain views, the green, the food. I mean, it's great up here. All right. So, I mean, in terms of challenges, um, I would say that some of the challenges that I face here, depending on the area where you're at, you might experience some power outages. Okay, so like for example, in one particular area, um, it was more of a rural side. I did experience some power outages, so that's not the most convenient. Um, what other challenges? You gotta know the money, because sometimes when you, like for example, when I first came in, like I went in the street to buy some roasted corn, right? So in the US they call it corn on the cob. Okay, just roasted corn. It's like if you're gonna buy a whole corn, you pay about you pay about 30 shillings or 40 shillings. You pay like 40 shillings. Okay, 30 to 40 shillings. Okay, if you're gonna buy half, you pay 20. All right. But when I first came in, when I wanted to buy a whole one, they would tell me it's 50. All right, 50 shillings. But the average person was paying like 30 or 40 shillings. You know what I mean? So, but then if you don't know the money, then you can pay a little bit extra, because if you go to the open market and you're trying to buy something, the moment they realize, okay, well, this person may not know, so you may end up paying more. All right. So another thing is, when I first came in, like I will go to some like markets, maybe to buy like some traditional clothes. Then definitely I know they overpriced me. Looking back, now that I've been here for like 3 months, I'm like, okay, now I know the local prices, the local markets, so I don't really get overpriced like before. All right. So those are some of the things, when it comes to my experience, like my first, I would say, 90 days experiences here. I mean, there's definitely a lot more to share in terms of finances, as far as expenses. I would say traveling, when it comes to transportation, my tattoos are not that expensive at all. In fact, it's made to be affordable. But the only thing, when it comes to my tattoos or the public transport, it takes very long. And sometimes there can be a lot of inconveniences. So I think it's better to take Uber, or um, they have another one called Bolt. I mean, depending on where you're going, it might get expensive. But then again, how often you travel, you know, it can definitely make a difference. And then also you have motorbikes. To me, I feel like the motorbikes are like one of the best ways to move around, especially if you're going short distance. I think motorbikes can be even more convenient than my tattoos for shorter distance, and also it's less expensive. All right, so yeah, I mean, when it comes to housing, depending on your location, depending on your amenities, that will determine the price of housing. So some people, they may get like a rental, like a vacation rental, 3 months vacation rental. When I first came in, I was doing Airbnb, and then eventually I got the plug on a particular spot. So well, actually, as I was staying at the Airbnb, the person who was cleaning my Airbnb, when I got to talking with them, then they gave me the plug on some other apartments. So then I stopped doing Airbnb. Then I got to doing the rentals just directly. So the prices actually went down a little bit because I was able to bargain and really got a good deal. And then after that, I got linked with one of the tourism companies, Rose Tours, which once again, you guys had seen me, the videos that I did. And so we were able to do some collaborations. That was definitely, I'll say it was a win-win situation. I got more Rose Tours coming soon. I may publish some more videos just on some of our excursions, going into the safaris and just different experiences. And so that was a great situation that came out of that. And so um, I would say too, it's always great to network, because I would say networking in Nairobi is great. There's a lot of opportunities. I would say a lot of great investments, and just, I don't know, it's just depending on what you're looking for. But I would say that if you're someone who is open to networking, connecting with people, exchanging ideas, exchanging gifts, exchanging talents and skills, um, then it makes your life a lot easier moving forward, because you can find out, well, you have certain qualities, or you have certain resources that someone else can make opportunities of, and then that person may have certain things of value that you can partake of, and by exchanging, you then create a win-win situation. And so throughout my experiences in Nairobi, I would say I've had many of those experiences where I connect with someone, and I may have something of value, they may have something of value, we exchange, and then boom, we create something positive. And so I think that's really one of the greatest things that I've learned here, being in Nairobi, is that people are definitely go-getters. You know what I mean? Like they want to hustle, they want to grind, they want to grow. That entrepreneurial mindset, that mentality is definitely grounded here. And so yeah, definitely there's a lot of ideas, but also there's a lot of opportunities, practical opportunities within the entrepreneurial space. All right. So, guys, I mean, I've been here for 90 days. And so I would say these are some of my experiences. Many of you that may be watching this video, if you have any questions, of course, feel free to share in the comments. But right now, it's like almost 2 a.m. So I'm about to get ready to get some rest. It's a little bit late, but I wanted to come on here and really just share my experiences with you all, um, and a lot of my journey here in Kenya, in Nairobi. And so yeah, any comments, those of you who might be watching? Are there any comments? All right, guys. So we're about to wrap it up right now. Once again, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. And so right now it is kind of late, so I'm not gonna stay on for too long. But once again, y'all, thank you for watching Kixkeya Global Village. And I hope to see you guys in another video. Peace out.